From simple quality of life changes to game-changing features like champions, here are some community ideas that ended up actually being added into Clash Royale. Number 1. Any Clash Royale veterans out there will know that the arrows originally did a single wave of damage just like any other spell in the game. Not only that, but they actually did less damage overall than they currently do. The arrows have been around since the game's global launch in 2016, but they weren't actually used that much back then since the zap pretty much did the exact same thing, except it was cheaper and also stunned troops. Fast forward a couple of years to October of 2019, and Supercell was looking for a way to make the arrows unique so that people would actually use them. That October is when a Reddit user made a post suggesting that the arrows be reworked so that they would have 3 different waves of damage. This user must have had a crystal ball or something, because Seth, an actual Supercell employee, commented on the post letting everyone know that this was actually the exact change that they were testing and getting ready to release at the time. So this change to the arrows was officially made less than a month later, and the arrows have seen much more success in use ever since. Number 2. Another thing Clash Royale veterans would remember is that player profiles used to be pretty simple and honestly kinda boring. At the end of 2020, a Reddit user made a post suggesting profile banners that would add a customizable element to user profiles. It was very easy to see from this post how this idea would add some much needed flair to the game, and many commenters even became disappointed when they saw that this post was only a concept and not an announcement of an actual feature. Well, sure enough, in the middle of 2022, Supercell finally decided to add player profile customizations, complete with not only the battle banners, but also other decorations and badges that could be earned and then displayed on your profile to show off your achievements. This feature was definitely a very welcome one, and I don't think you'd find anyone complaining about this getting added. Number 3. If you're a Clash of Clans fan, it wouldn't surprise you to know that players have been asking Supercell to add heroes into Clash Royale ever since the game was first released. Iconic characters like the Barbarian King and the Archer Queen are a huge part of what made Clash of Clans so successful, so players naturally wanted to see them adapted to be in Clash Royale as well. The developers ignored these requests for years after the game was released, but in late 2021, the Archer Queen was finally added to the game in the Champions update, along with the Skeleton King and the Golden Knight. Although players were a bit disappointed that the Barbarian King wasn't included in this update, they were still very happy to get the update, and champions have had a huge impact on how people play the game ever since. Number 4. In early 2018, a Reddit user made a post detailing an idea for trading legendary cards in the clan chat, kind of like how donations already worked for cards of lower rarities. This post got a lot of attention and even got a response from Supercell saying it was a good idea and that they would look into it. Sure enough, about 6 months later, in September of the same year, Supercell would release an update which added card trading and trade tokens for all 4 rarities in the game, not just legendary cards. The trading feature has since become very important to players at nearly every stage of the game, and I'm sure the original poster was extremely happy to see his idea not only get added to the game, but also be expanded upon and given attention by Supercell themselves. Number 5. Going back to the topic of Clash of Clans again, another very iconic feature in that game is magic items. Magic items are books, potions, and other objects that can be used to significantly speed up your progress in the game. These magic items can be purchased with real money or earned through completing various challenges, tasks, or events in-game. When magic items were added to Clash of Clans all the way back in 2017, Clash Royale players wondered why they didn't get the same feature, since it seemed like this concept would fit very well into Clash Royale 2. As such, players would often post their own concepts of how magic items would work in Clash Royale to the subreddit, such as this one here from 2020, and in early 2021, Supercell responded by adding in magic items to Clash Royale, following a similar concept to how they were implemented in Clash of Clans with books and other game-specific items to help players progress more quickly. Number 6. 2020 must have been an amazing year for player ideas, because another concept that was posted at the end of that year was this idea for a hog catapult in the game. This card would function very similarly to a regular mortar, except it would shoot one royal hog at the tower with each shot instead of a mortar shell. The post garnered a few thousand upvotes, and many players wanted to see something like this added to the game since the idea was so unique. Now, a mortar that shoots troops technically wasn't a completely unheard of idea, since Clash Royale had actually done an April Fool's prank a few years earlier involving a mortar that shot goblins, but as you guys can tell from previous items on this list, Supercell does monitor the Clash Royale subreddit, and the fact that this post got a lot of attention definitely showed them that a mortar shooting troops was something players would want to see added to the game for real this time. So Supercell took the opportunity in 2023 to add this functionality to the evolved mortar, except they went with goblins instead of hogs, since that was way more balanced for a card evolution rather than a completely separate card. Number 7. At the end of 2016, a Reddit user made a simple post simply saying, what if there was a sneaky ninja or bandit type card that could charge up and become invisible until it hit the target. The dash attack could be a bit more powerful. Again, either this guy had a working crystal ball to gaze into and foresee the future, or Supercell must have taken some inspiration from this post, since the bandit that we all know and love was added to the game only 3 months after this post was made. I think this is too good to be a coincidence, since not only did the user make this post so close to the card being released, but he actually used the name Bandit in the post and also mentioned a dash attack as a central feature to the card, which we all know is what the Bandit actually ended up doing. Number 8. Whenever you play pretty much any type of battle in Clash Royale, the replay is saved in your battle log in case you want to rewatch the game. Players would often use this feature to save clips from their matches that they wanted to share with their friends, but this was actually really annoying to do sometimes since there was no rewind feature in the game at the time. In August of 2020, a Reddit user made a post to the Clash Royale subreddit petitioning for the game to finally get a rewind feature to make it easier to clip key moments from their replays. This post ended up getting over 3,500 upvotes, so it was clear that players wanted this feature added to the game. Not too long after this post and a few others like it, Supercell ended up releasing a quality of life update that included the rewind feature for replays, and players were very happy to finally have this much needed feature in the game. Number 9. In 2018, a Reddit user made a post suggesting a few different types of chests that should be added to the game. The chest in this post that caught the most attention was the gold chest, which was a clear concept where players would be able to get chests occasionally in their chest cycle that would just contain a whole lot of gold to help them upgrade their cards. Many players wanted to see this feature added to the game, but it wasn't actually until the summer of 2021 that Supercell would add in 3 different gold crates to the game, which added quite a bit more gold to the economy. Players, myself included, were very happy to finally see this feature added to the game that had been suggested so many times, and I think I speak for everyone when I say it has definitely made it so much easier to upgrade your cards. Number 10. In October of 2018, a post was made to Reddit outlining a card concept called the Skeleton King. This Skeleton King was essentially just an extremely beefed up skeleton that would walk slowly, kind of like a golem, but would actually speed up the more damage he took. If you're familiar with the evolved barbarians today, the card would have functioned similarly to that. This concept was interesting enough and did end up garnering some attention, but it is very interesting that we did end up getting the Skeleton King in Clash Royale years later in the Champions update, even if it was nothing like the original concept from Reddit. Number 11. One thing about Clash Royale players is that they will call out things in the game that need fixing, even if the idea was theirs in the first place. For example, when trade tokens were added to the game back in 2018, players didn't like that you could only give and receive one type of card per trade. This ended up clogging up the chat and making it less likely to actually get trades filled, so players quickly took to Reddit to post concepts of adding multiple cards to give away so that people had more options if they wanted to trade with you. This post again garnered a lot of attention, and less than 2 months later, Supercell would make it so you could now select 4 cards you were willing to give away instead of just 1. This made players happy, and the feature hasn't really been messed with since. Number 12. In 2017, Supercell was messing around with the idea of a ghost card in Clash Royale. They even made up some artwork for the card, but they couldn't figure out a balanced way to add it into the game, so the idea was ultimately abandoned. They even talked about it on their podcast, saying that this wouldn't be added to the game since they weren't able to figure it out. Throughout that year though, many players began to create ghost concepts of their own and post them to Reddit, some of which gained a good amount of attention among the community. Supercell noticed this, and since they saw that people wanted it in the game so badly, they actually ended up testing out a concept for the Royal Ghost near the end of that year and running a Royal Ghost Mirror Challenge in December. Players that got 12 wins in the challenge would unlock the card early, and the card was ultimately fully released in the game the very next month. Only a small percentage of you guys who watch my videos are actually subscribed to the channel, so if you enjoyed the video, go ahead and subscribe to help us reach 1,000 subscribers.